actually pretty interesting. So I'll answer any questions that anyone has. But otherwise, I'm going to be watching it. Song Joong Ki is in this K-drama, and it's been a while since he's been in anything. The last thing that I really saw that he did was Descendants of the Sun, and then he was in Vincenzo, which was a very popular K-drama. So I know a lot of people really like that K-drama. It was kind of fun. He was like in a Korean adoptee, born in I guess something to do with Italy. I watched it, but I kind of had it running in the background, so I didn't watch it as closely. But this K-drama is very interesting. Like, I feel like it's gonna have a huge twist at the end of the Korean drama, just because I don't know. The way they set it up in episode 1, where he was pretty much the lackey or the fall guy for this very rich, of course, very rich Korean family, a conglomerate family or a chaebol. And so, yeah, so I kind of thought that that was interesting. But I don't know, like, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, Song Joong Ki looks really haggard in this K-drama. He's not looking too good. But that makes sense because episode 1, he was basically a very poor guy that was just pretty much being abused by this rich family. But he got reborn again, and he was reborn into the family. And he's like the number one grandson, which was kind of cool. And that I thought was also interesting because I almost feel like he is part of that family and they brainwashed him or hypnotized him, or they did something to him to keep him under their thumb, but not let him be part of the inheritance. So that's kind of what I'm thinking happened. I'm not exactly sure, but that's kind of what I think happened in his first life, where he was in episode 1. And it was also interesting because all of the sons of the really wealthy grandfather, well, the children, they were also aged. But when you go back in time, which is the 80s and 90s, when Song Joong Ki's character is reborn into the rich family, they all look younger. So was interesting as well. So just kind of thinking it was a good K-drama, but I think I like the fact that it's got a lot of different twists and turns to it. But I guess I'm still on the fence on whether or not I would recommend this K-drama. And right now I'm on episode 4, and they are kind of going through the, I guess, overall steps of giving the backstory of this drama. So they're showing off the very wealthy family, and I don't know. I feel like they're just a very privileged, entitled group of individuals, and they're not kind to their staff or anyone around them. And, you know, I think everyone runs into people who are just terrible as individuals. And hopefully we don't have to have them in our lives for too long, and we could all move on with our lives. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I do really like Song Joong Ki. I think that he's just an amazing K-drama actor. Loved him in so many of his K-dramas, especially like when he gets to play kind of like a cute, fun character. This is not like cute. I think his cute characters were the Scandal, like a Korean historical drama where they were like kind of like the flower boys of this long time ago historical university. He played such a cute character in that K-drama. Really liked him in that one. But yeah, ask me any questions, but kind of watching Reborn Rich in the background, so yeah. And I just got through watching a K-drama with Song Joong Ki, which is Vincenzo, and that one was really good. I definitely recommend that one. I think that it got a lot of good reviews. It was highly entertaining, and I think that a lot of people were really interested in that one, just across Netflix in general. Like, it didn't get as many K-drama views as Squid Games, but it definitely got some good ones. So I think that that one I would recommend. So this Reborn Rich, when he's reborn into the past, which is interesting because a lot of times when people are reincarnated, you would think that they would be reincarnated in the future, like Goblin or Tokebi with Gongyu. Like all of their reborn lives, people that he had in his past, they would subsequently get reborn into the future or present day. So yeah, but this one, Song Joong Ki got reborn into the past, which was the 80s and 90s. And that fashion is coming back. Like, I saw some makeup, well, in Korea, like right now, very thin eyebrows is back. And I think that that's kind of also the trend with some of the, I guess, the young and hip, where they're really arching their eyebrows to kind of like what was Kate Moss days, kind of that very thin, very overplucked look. And for me, I did do that in the late 90s and early 2000, and I don't know if that's a very good look, just because it's hard to grow back eyebrows, just as an FYI for anyone who's watching this video and is contemplating overplucking. Japanese brands have a really good eyebrow shaper or a shaver, and I would recommend doing that because at least that way you can decide later on whether or not you want to grow back your eyebrows. Because if it's shaved, you're not actually damaging the hair follicle. So I think that that's a much better route to take, and you can kind of play with the shape of your eyebrows rather than just remove it completely. Like, I think that that's just, I think there were a lot of people in my generation that regret plucking all of their eyebrows because it's really hard to grow back. I mean, now you've got Latisse and you've got other growth serums, but it's still difficult to grow back. So I definitely think that people should be careful. Be very careful of plucking eyebrows. So now we're back at Reborn Rich. This is episode 4. And the grandfather is meeting someone. And Song Joong Ki, because he's lived in the future, he is able to make some really good investment deals, political predictions. And that basically is allowing his grandfather, excuse me, his grandfather to kind of side with him, because he was able to also predict an airplane crash and all other kinds of stuff. So the grandfather is really leaning heavily on Song Joong Ki's character, which is very interesting because his own children don't have that much access to this grandfather guy. And he's kind of like playing it like Samsung. And I think a lot of K-dramas like to portray the very rich, it kind of like the Samsung family dynasty. Because back before, like up until recently, Korea was definitely third world, because they had been overrun by China, Korea. They had the different dynasties, and they just had a really difficult time. So I think Samsung is like the epitome of kind of where a lot of, not the epitome of where Koreans want to be, but they show like how rich Korea has become. And I think also the corruption in certain family businesses as well as their political alliances, because like, it happens in all different countries, and you're gonna see it with a lot of different politics. Like nothing, I mean, I'm sure there are some politicians and business people that are clean and they don't do underhanded things, but I also feel like it's a little bit shady, if not a lot shady. So I definitely think like people should be very careful of how they vote and make decisions, because just leaning with one political party is not enough. You really need to look at everything. And I know Andrew Yang, I'm not much into politics, but I know Andrew Yang was trying to like do forward with some different branch, not Democratic, not Republican, but forward, as in like, let's just bring on another, like, not independent party, but just something different so that the people can choose. And I think like now a lot of people are also saying people should really be careful of not just the person that they're voting for, but who are they supporting. And I think where we're able to really make an impact is what are we choosing in terms of our, I guess, where we're spending our money. And that's where a lot of people are saying is going to make an impact. Because of course, if you support like the big businesses, the big business, I feel like a lot of them lean towards Republicans because it's just a lot more tax friendly and big business friendly. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of check and balances with politics. You got the Republicans in for a little while. They do a bunch of stuff. They implement a bunch of different things, and then a lot of people get tired of them. And then the Democrats hold office. They take things down. They build things else up, and people get tired of the Democrats, and then it's a good check and balance, because I think if one party is in there for way too long, then there is an imbalance, and then there's no way to really have more of an equality. Kind of like some other countries that are currently out there. For me, I watch social media because I'm on social media. But I do see a lot that's going on in the world where there's a lot of political strife, a lot of things going on with religious freedoms and different things that are happening. It's really sad. It's a very sad thing with what's going on in certain parts of the world, especially when people are just trying to live their life and they're not able to because of different regimes in power. And I think that's terrible. I think, capitalism, there's some pros and cons to it, but I feel like there's certain countries that have proved out that certain stances on absolute power just does not work. So that's too bad. It's a very sad thing. So yeah, anyways, that's my viewpoint. Take it or leave it, but it is what I think. And yeah. Ooh, the grandfather just hit his son, who would later become the heir in episode 1. So who knows what's going on? You know what doesn't happen, I think, as much? I feel like Korea definitely is with a lot. It was a very authoritarian type of top-down patriarchal society, and it's a very like back in the day you would see a lot more people getting hit, beaten, but nowadays, you know, even knives are blurred out. You don't see as much gun violence, knife violence, but yeah, back not just a few years ago, there's a lot of hitting and slapping. And even in business, like even now, you see some of the management, people in power just going bananas over their subordinates or staff. And I don't know if it's a US thing where, because I only watch K-dramas, I have not worked, I mean, I worked a little bit in different Asian communities, but, and it is much more authoritarian, but not where people are just smacking people. Because I don't work in Asia, but I wonder if that's still true. I hope not. I mean, there's no reason to get physically violent with another individual. I don't think that that's a good idea. Yeah, but I'm gonna turn this down. Yeah. The fashion, you can't really tell that it's in the 2000s or late 90s. I feel like the clothing is so basic or general that Reborn Rich, even though it's like filming 2 decades earlier, the fashion seems to be the same. Like everybody's in suits. There's not really that much leeway you could do with suits. The only time that I really noticed that they're portraying something in the past is with the cars. The cars are very, very noticeable in terms of it being a different year rather than current times. Also, no one has a smartphone because, like, in K-dramas, smartphones are just huge. Like Samsung, LG, it's like a giant commercial for them. They're always like on their different phone apps and phones. They even sometimes have their own little PR or marketing campaign within a K-drama. But not in this drama. And I wonder if that's also going to impact some of the product placement. Because I noticed that in certain K-dramas, especially the really popular, well-funded ones, there is a lot of product placement. So it's surprising that they would pick this in a time where they can't do much product placement. Yeah, see right now, Song Joong Ki's character, he's driving in a car. The interior already looks very dated, very late 90s, I'm guessing, somewhere around there. But I don't know. I like Song Joong Ki. I wonder how they're gonna go transition it over to future time. Because in episode 1, it's like a spoiler alert, but if you watch episode 1, you're gonna know that Song Joong Ki's character gets shot and he falls off a cliff. So it would be a miracle if he is able to survive that. But then, as he's reborn into the family, then how are they going to make him come back into present time? Because that guy, Jin Young from GOT7, he's in present time. So that guy is in present time. And I know that he's a popular K-pop artist with GOT7. He's been in several K-dramas. Like, he was recently in Yumi Cells on Viki. This one's on Viki too. But he was on recently in Yumi Cells playing Bobby. But I have to say, with Yumi Cells, I really liked An Bo Hyun's character. He just was way more manly. You know, he was just a lot more of, you know, he was an engineer, he was in IT. So his personality just kind of, I thought, was just much more manly than Bobby's character. And Bobby's character was in marketing. I don't know, there was something very wishy-washy about Jin Young's character in Yumi Cells. But like Yumi Cells, there is going to be season 3. And in season 3, she is going to meet the man she's supposed to marry. So we have gone through Ung's character with An Bo Hyun, then Bobby, which is Jin Young's character in season 2, and now season 3, whenever they make that with Go Eun Young, I forget her name. She was in King's Eternal Monarch, and Goblin with Gongyu. So Kim Go-eun, yeah, I think her name is Kim Go-eun. She played the lead actress with so many attractive men. She was in Tokkebi or Goblin with Gongyu. Huge K-drama, loved it. She played a high schooler, which is really awkward because his character was hundreds and hundreds of years old, and she had to be reborn again for them to actually be together. She was also paired with the King Eternal Monarch's Lee Min-ho, which I would say he is probably one of the most popular K-drama actors of all time. He was in Boys Over Flowers. He was in The Heirs. He was in The King Eternal Monarch. I know that they spent a lot of money on that K-drama, but I personally was just a little underwhelmed by the chemistry and dynamics between Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun's character, just because on screen, she was just so mean, so bitter, so completely, I did not like her. She was very unlikable as a character, just kind of like playing this really badass cop. And then in the alternate world, she was playing a drug addict or something. I just felt like she didn't have a very lovable character. And Lee Min-ho's character, he just seemed like such a mama's boy, just so weak and so in love with this very angry Kim Go-eun's character. Like, I'm like, this is not believable. She's very angry. She is not likable. Lee Min-ho is like a heartthrob, and she just seemed very underwhelming. But behind the scenes, when they showed footage of behind the scenes, they were so cute together. They were just very fun, and they had a very kind of like really cute banter. On screen, no, I did not see it on screen. They were just really just very lackluster. I didn't feel like anything going on between the two of them, because I felt like Kim Go-eun's character was so off-putting, just very unpleasant, just unpleasant to watch, unpleasant to listen to. And the fact that Lee Min-ho's character was just so over the moon and in love with this unlikable girl or woman, I'm like, it's not believable. It's like, this is like taking a fantasy romantic dynamic, and it just did not work for me. That's what I think. That's my personal opinion of that. But yeah, I'm really wondering how Song Joong Ki's character is going to pull off his takeover of the grandfather's dynasty, because they were so mean to him in episode 1 when he was the poor guy, when he was the servant, basically just this guy that was running around getting beat up by them and screamed at. And now that he has the grandfather's favor as the favored grandson, kind of wondering how this is going to play out. What I kind of feel like how they're going to twist and turn it is that guy in episode 1, he was stolen from his real mother, brainwashed, and given to a different poor family, and the poor family took care of him because they needed the money, and then he had to go work for them later on without any memory of the fact that he's part of that family. But then when he gets reborn into this other as a real grandson, I think he really is the grandson somehow. He's really the grandson, and he's the grandson of the actress, because the actress got kicked out. She came into episode 1 and she demanded her son back, and so I think that he really is her son, but she somehow lost him. And the rich family hid him until she wasn't able to recognize him, and then somehow tricked him into being like that servant guy. But now that he's been reborn, somehow he is going to make new memories. I don't know how they're going to play this off. But sometimes K-dramas don't really piece things together perfectly, so that way it's just kind of like, it's not done super well, and you're just kind of left with thinking, okay, that story didn't match very well. But that's okay. I'm not expecting a classic novel experience, as long as it's entertaining. That's what I kind of find the key of K-dramas. And then what I have been watching on Korean dramas, I recently rewatched Romance is a Bonus Book with Lee Jong-suk's character. He is so good in that K-drama, and I first heard about that K-drama several years ago, and it was just so much fun. 2 different ladies recommended it from me. One was African American, and she was living up near Santa Barbara, and the other lady who recommended it to me, she is a lady of Mexican descent from San Diego. 2 totally different ladies, but they both highly, highly recommended Romance is a Bonus Book. And I was like, oh, how good could it